Yo, what's good, people? This is Andrew McCain, and welcome to the Interlude with Drew.
It's the Interlude with It's the Interlude with
Welcome to the Interlude with Drew.
What's up, people? Andrew McCain once again. Welcome to the Interlude with Drew. I'm so glad that you took the time out to listen to this podcast or to watch the video on YouTube. And I appreciate everyone for subscribing to the podcast, telling everybody that you know about it. This is the Interlude with Drew. Now, I got to admit, it's been a long time coming. I've been going back and forth in my head, battling, is this going to be worth it? Is this going to be something that people actually listen to? But, a lot of times we hold ourselves back from doing what it is that we know that we're supposed to do. But I figured, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and step out. And honestly, the biggest battle for me was the name. And I went back and forth about the name. I was like, should I call it this? Should I call it that? I was, sharing with my wife and my friends and, going back and forth. But I settled on the Interlude because it just feels right. It feels like, because I'm a musician and a lover of music. And in an interlude in an album is like a pit stop, like a small break to kind of recalibrate your ears and kind of consume what was happening before and get ready for what's happening next. So I see this podcast as just a little pit stop. Like if you're driving, you could listen to this. If you're at home, if you're on a break, you could listen to this and it'll give you a chance to kind of relax, sit back, listen to the different topics that I'm talking about, and it'll cause you to, enjoy yourself a little bit, because life is rough. Even before 2020 came around, life has always been difficult. There's great things in life, of course, but there's many challenges in life. So any opportunity that you have to kind of, get your mind off of the everyday life, I think it's a great opportunity. Now, just a brief background on who I am. Once again, I'm Andrew McCain. I currently live in Connecticut. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, lived there for 5 years, grew up in Maryland, where I lived for about 18 years. Yeah, 18 years in Maryland. So if you ask me where I'm from, I'm from Maryland. I was born in Boston. I love Boston. My wife's from Boston. She lived there her whole life, but I'm from Maryland, or as we would say, Maryland. You know what I'm saying? The DMV, right outside of DC in Prince George's County. Shout out PG County. And like I said earlier, I'm a lover of music. First of all, I'm a lover of God. Let's start there. I love Jesus. I'm all about Jesus. He's my king. He's the head of my life, as they would say in testimony service. But yeah, so that's a brief background of who I am. So I grew up in church. So I grew up listening to gospel music. And I to this day, I love gospel music. Gospel music inspired me to want to do gospel music. I started off playing the piano at about 6 or 7 years old. And the way how it happened was I was playing on a toy piano in my parents' car along to the music that we were listening to at the time. And I was just playing the melody, never played before, but I was somehow able to hear and play what it was that I was hearing. And my parents picked up on it. It was like, oh wow, we gotta do something with this. So they eventually bought me a bigger keyboard, sent me to piano lessons, and from there I've been playing ever since. Thank God for the gift. My dad actually started the church not too long after that. So even before I really knew what I was doing, I was kind of thrown into the fire and had to start playing the piano at church every week. So that's where I kind of what they call it, cut my teeth or whatever. So I'm not an expert now, even though it's been so many years. I still have a long way to go. I still practice. I still listen to other people and get frustrated, listen to the child prodigies. But no, you got to appreciate your journey. You got to appreciate where you are. You got to appreciate what God has given to you, because As I'll talk about in maybe another episode, a lot of times we compare each other and compare ourselves to others so much that instead of honing what we have, we spend most of our time being frustrated with where we are and thinking that, what I got ain't that great. So why even waste my time trying to hone what God has given to me? But the truth of the matter is God is pleased anytime that we take what we have and we maximize it for his glory. And that's the important part, because Paul told us that, whatever you do in words or in deed, do it all for the glory of God. And that's my goal. I'm not perfect, but I do try to do what I do for God's glory and for him to be glorified and lifted up. So that's just a brief intro of my life. Throughout the different episodes, hopefully I'll be able to talk about different things that I've encountered in my life. I'm also a lover of sports, and almost to my detriment, because when I was younger, I started off playing the piano. I was passionate about it, but once I started really loving basketball, I unfortunately practicing and getting better at the piano kind of took a backseat. So, but I mean, I picked it back up later on in life. I kind of regret the lost time, but hey, it is what it is. I still love sports to this day, mainly basketball, and I love football as well. So that's something else that we, from time to time will cover and talk about in this podcast. Probably the NBA, NFL, the regular season is about to start for the NBA while I'm recording this. And, NFL season is getting to that playoff point. So, but in this podcast, I plan to have different interviews with my fellow musician friends that I've met over the years, and basically they'll be sharing their story, and hopefully be able to help younger musicians or just to inspire people with their journey and where they came from, where they currently are, and where they're going. Because we all have a different journey in life. We all have different obstacles that we encounter. And a lot of times, even if you're not in the same field, you can listen to what someone is saying and be inspired by something that they say, something that they overcame, something that they encountered that's similar to something that you may be encountering in a totally different field. And seeing the roadblocks that they faced and how they got over that, how they got past that. So I just hope that this Interlude podcast will be, a blessing to people. Like I said, I play the piano. I'm also a songwriter, and I'm hoping that I can also get some songwriters on here that will talk about songs that they've written, the frustrations that come along with being a songwriter, and of course, I'll share my own experience with the listeners and the viewers and everything like that. All right. So we building a little community here. All right. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I appreciate you once again for tuning into this. I appreciate you for telling your friends about it. We're going to have some fun. All right. So also I got to let you know, I am the oldest of 4 siblings. All right. So I'm Andrew. The second oldest is Violet. Third oldest is Jeremy. And the youngest is Nicole. And we have a group called the McCains. All right. You may have heard of us. You may not have. If you haven't, I hope that you go and check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Just type in the MCKAINS. We're a gospel singing group. We sing all original music, or we release all original music. Sometimes live, we sing other people's songs, but we release all original music, and it's fun. It's something we've actually been doing for 20 years. Not too long after I started playing the piano, I started writing songs. Now, to be honest, the songs I was writing back then didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I mean, can you fault a 7 or 8-year-old? Like, if they're grammatically not 100% correct, or if melodically the movements didn't make as much sense. But honestly, some of the stuff I was playing back then and the songs I was writing, it was okay. It was okay, like for considering my age and experience at the time. So yeah, but like I was writing songs back then, and I had maybe like 2 or 3 songs my dad listened to, and he's like, "Oh, you write songs? Okay. Well, your piano teacher, he's also a producer, so let's record an album." I was like, "Oh, we could do that? Oh, okay. All right, cool." So we were kind of like just right into it, like without any experience. And Yeah, I mean, my piano teacher at the time, shout out John Lewis. If you ever happen to see this, I've been trying to find him on Facebook for years and years. But thank you so much. Thank you, John Lewis. As a side note, he helped me a lot starting out. Like, he didn't teach me for a very long time, but the things that he taught me, they carry over till this day. I teach all the people that I teach piano lessons to now the same things, pretty much the same approach and everything like that. So I appreciate you, John Lewis. And actually, after that, I took a little bit of classical piano. And to be honest, I wish I would have taken it more serious, but that's kind of where my interests in practicing all the time kind of drifted a little bit. And that was around the time I was into sports. So yeah, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, we started, I was 10 years old. We released our first album, released another one when I was 12, and didn't record again until I was like 21. But our journey is interesting because, like, even though we had somebody producing the music, like, for the most part, like, I was tracking everything. I was, playing the keys to it and trying to do drum beats and stuff. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't, I grew up in a time when YouTube was not around. Like, I remember, I'm probably gonna have an episode on this as well, but I grew up in a unique time. Like, I'm old enough to remember a time when we all had a house phone and you could have a house phone in your room, huh? Y'all younger people probably don't know nothing about that. We all had cell phones now, but I remember a time when we didn't have cell phones. And I remember a time when we were only using cassette tapes and we, went on to CDs and stuff. But I say all that to say that I remember a time when we didn't have YouTube. Now, this generation, anything that you want to learn or to know, you can find it on YouTube. But I grew up in a time when if you didn't have a mentor or somebody to show you all these things, then you probably weren't going to learn it. Unless you figured it out on your own. So, a lot of trial and error, but, I think our music has come a long way. So, there'll be times where I'll talk about that. I may share some new music, or things that we're working on and, different things like that. But I really think that you're going to enjoy this podcast. It's something that you could listen to on the way to work, on the way to church. Some of the podcast episodes will be short, like this initial episode. But some of them will be a little longer. Some of them will be, especially I feel like when we get into the interviews, because I know some people that I'm planning to interview. I've already have them lined up. I know some people that it'll take a little while, to get through all that they have to say, and it's going to be interesting. You're going to be listening to every word. So, it's not really about me. I'm the facilitator in that aspect. Not now, like I said, not every episode is going to be interview. Like, there's going to be some times where I just feel led to share about something from the Word of God, something that I think will encourage the listeners and the viewers. And I hope that y'all around for that, man. I really believe that this is something that you're gonna be like, man, when that next episode coming out, man. I've been listening to this last one, or I'm over the last one. We gotta move on now, man. Where that next episode at? So yeah, man, I really appreciate that. I'm also gonna definitely have guests come on and talk with me, not necessarily an interview, but just like sharing about different topics. Like, I know my boy Josh Freeman, I'm gonna be calling him in every now and then. My brother Jeremy might be on here every now and again. Different people. My wife, I'm definitely gonna have her on here. So it's gonna be a wide range of topics. And honestly, for that reason, I was really considering calling this the Eclectic podcast. But as you can see and hear from how I just said it, I don't know if that quite flows off the tongue. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll make it work though. The interlude, I feel like it's something that everybody can say, everybody can remember. The interlude with Drew kind of has a little ring to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we rocking with it, man. So once again, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a great ride. I appreciate all of you guys for subscribing. I appreciate all you guys on YouTube for liking the video, sharing it with your friends, letting people know the interlude with Drew has started. And let's get it, man. We on our way now, man. We finally, getting it started. It's been months. We in 2020. As we know, we had a quarantine earlier in the year where we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do much. But I started thinking about it because honestly, I listen to interviews all the time. And I didn't realize till this year how often I listen to interviews. And it's not just like the little quick 10-minute interviews or 15-minute interviews. But I listen to them a lot. and I can listen to like an hour plus long and, not be distracted at all. It's just something I find interesting. I like hearing about people's stories and their journeys and their approach to life and, what they think about certain things and stuff like that. So that's why interviews will be a big part of this podcast. And, and I also listen to podcasts because there's a lot of valuable information that you can attain by listening to podcasts. So, it's going to be great, man. The Interlude with Drew. And, I want to be able to end off my episode. I hope I don't forget when I do it, but I want to remind you that only what you do for Christ will last. All right? Take it one day at a time and keep it pushing. All right? God bless you. This is the Interlude with Drew, episode 1. We out.
It's the Interlude with It's the Interlude with
Welcome to the Interlude with Drew.